Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you a really satisfying, fun exercise that can help you to memorise the 1, 4 and 5 chords of any key, major or minor, on the piano keyboard, and also help you to work on a number of other skills like improvising on broken chords and using the sustain pedal. The 1, 4 and 5, also known as the tonic, subdominant and dominant, are the 3 chords that are more common than any others in most songs and most pieces of music. And if you can develop an instinctive feel for them at the piano, it'll really revolutionise your ability to play and to improvise. Just before we dig into that exercise, I want to tell you about a new thing I've got going on over at my patreon.com crowdfunding page that I think you'll really like. Every month for the next 6 months, so from now, September 2020 through to at least February 2021, I'm going to be releasing a monthly piano pack for my Patreon supporters. This month's piano pack is live on my Patreon now. It includes 6 exercises to help you improve your chord knowledge and keyboard skills, 6 problems and challenges to boost your music theory knowledge and creativity, a bunch of recommended links and music to listen to, and an original piano piece for you to practice. Plus, there's a walkthrough video linked from the pack so you can check you're doing all of it right. Now, if you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a really straightforward platform. You sign up as one of my supporters at one of the set tiers, $2 US, $5 US, or at one of the higher tiers if you like. And each tier gives you access to various benefits. I should say that you get access to the piano packs at every tier. Every time I post a new tutorial on YouTube, then as a supporter you pay $2 or $5 or whatever amount you signed up for, plus maybe a little bit of sales tax depending on the law where you live. Patreon handles all that, by the way, along with the currency conversion, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are. Yeah, I've actually found it's really good at looking after that side of things for you. Now, I've been using patreon.com pretty successfully for several years now. I feel it's kind of settled down to become a mature, reliable platform. I really like it. I support a couple of creators on there myself, and I'm trying to grow more of a community around my Patreon page. So if you want to sign up and get access to the piano packs and the various other benefits on offer, head over to patreon.com/Bill Hilton today. I'll be very glad to see you there. Okay, let's get on with the tutorial. What I'm going to do first is show you how this exercise works in C major, so it's all white notes, really easy, and you can get a sense of what you need to do before we really start to have fun with it by moving around different keys, breaking up the chords, decorating it and things like that. All I want you to do in your left hand is play this C, this G and this C. That's it. That's all you have to do. Your left hand doesn't move from there. On top of that, in your right hand, we're going to play a simple C chord. Okay, so that is a chord of C major. I'm not playing it in root position. That would be its root position. I'm playing it in this inversion, but it's a simple C chord, but note C, E and G. And then in the right hand, we're going to move up to play an F shape. Okay, I don't really mind what fingers you use, by the way, just for all of this exercise all the way through. Choose the fingers that you find most comfortable and which are most efficient for moving between the chords. Okay, then we're going to move up to a G shape in the right hand, but still with the left unchanging. Now, I'm using the word shape there because what we have across the whole piano keyboard isn't technically a straightforward G chord because it contains notes that don't belong in the G chord, notably this C. That F isn't a straightforward F chord because it's got a G in it there, okay? But ignore that for now and focus on the right. Now, these chords we play in the right hand are the basic 1, 4 and 5 chords in the key of C major. 1, 4 and 5. The tonic, subdominant and dominant, C, F and G. Okay, but we're just playing them as those shapes in the right hand. Let me show you the order we're going to play them in. We're just going to go up and down. So we're going to play a C shape, then an F shape, then a G shape, then back down to the F shape, and back to the C shape, and that's it. Wash, rinse and repeat. That's the basic exercise. In the right hand, 1, 4, 5, 4, 1, plus this fixed bass. Now, when you play it, just have a go at it. Notice how it feels, and listen to the sound that you're making with each chord. You might be wondering, what's the deal with this static left hand? Why is it like that? Well, I've kept it static for two reasons. First of all, because I want to make it easier for you to concentrate on the right hand, on these 1, 4, 5 chords that you're playing, yeah, while still having a good, full, satisfying two-handed sound on the piano, yeah. And also I want to add some musical interest so that this exercise can actually be satisfying to play rather than just, you know, another boring chord exercise chunking up and down the piano keyboard playing really straightforward chords. The musical effect of that left hand is to subtly alter the F and G shapes in the right hand. So the basic F chord is F, A and C. We played it in this inversion, and the basic G chord is G, B and D, which we played in this inversion. But taken across the whole keyboard with the fixed bass, and those two shapes, those two chords become richer, more complex and more interesting. If you're into music theory, you could kind of think of this left hand as maybe a double pedal tone or as a drone, or you could say that the effect was to create polychords with the F and G shapes, or you could try to give the shapes names. You know, you could say that that was a voicing of an F add 9 chord, or whatever. The terminology doesn't really matter. What matters is that you listen to the sound you're making, always listen to the sound you're making, and that you pay attention to how those right hand chord shapes feel, the all important 1, 4, 5. Another important thing is that I'm not asking you to stick to any set beat or rhythms here. I've not specified any timing. That means you can entirely improvise the timings. Yeah, you can take it slow, you can make some chords faster than others. You know, you can add a beat if you like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Try all of those things, yeah? Play around, because that's how you learn, but I'm not giving you a hard and fast rule on timing and rhythm. I want you to use your own creative sense there. Okay, one of the joys of this exercise is that you can do a lot with it, whether you're a relative beginner or a bit more experienced. Let's just build out and explore some of the stuff you can do once you're confident with the basic pattern. So one of the first things you can do, even if you're only beginning to get confident with chord shapes, is play around with the inversions, the chord shapes you use in the right hand. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a moment. The other thing you can do with those chords is begin to break them up into individual notes so that you're creating broken chord patterns. You could also maybe begin just to come off and on the left again, okay, just maybe to give it a little bit of a push every now and then, rather than just changing with rather than just putting it down again with every chord. Let me just have a play around in a really simple way and show you what I mean. It's really important to stress that what I'm asking you to do here, even if you're relatively new to the piano, is improvise. Improvisation doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, here we go. So really quite straightforward, and I think pretty easily within your reach, even if you're relatively new to the piano. Let's look at what I was doing. So first of all, what I was doing was choosing different inversions, different shapes of the chords in the right hand. Let's pretend for now that they're all simple chords unaffected by what I'm doing in the left. Now, as you may know, you've got a choice of 3 basic positions in which to play simple right hand major and minor chords. You've got root position, where you have the root note of the chord, in other words the note the chord is named after, C in this case as the lowest note. The first inversion, where the next chord note up from the root is the lowest note, and the second inversion, which is where the note furthest from the root in the chord is the lowest note of the chord. So root position, first inversion, second inversion. Let's do it in a different chord. Let's do it in G. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. Now you can play any of those inversions as 3-note chords, or you can stick another chord note on the top and play them as 4-note chords. Okay, the piano keyboard gives you the opportunity to do both. Now you might have noticed that when I was improvising, I was choosing, and very deliberately choosing, chord shapes that kind of interlocked with each other. Rather than jumping from root position to root position to root position, I was doing things like root position C to second inversion F to second inversion G. Or I could have done root position C to first inversion F to root position G. I've talked about this before if you have watched many of my videos in the past, but try to make your movement between chords fairly smooth and organic, picking voicings, picking inversions that interlock as much as possible using shared notes where you can. Okay, so from that C to that F, I've got a shared note. That's a really good habit to get into, especially for improvising on the piano, because it creates a more natural flowing musical effect. You're not going to want to do it all the time. Sometimes you need to punctuate things with a jump, but it's usually best to avoid jump after jump after jump. So rather than going C, F, most of the time you do something like C, F, C, F, reducing the overall amount of movement you're making in that right hand. Now you'll see that the other thing I was doing there was breaking up those chords and playing more kind of elaborate patterns. Yeah, I was beginning to get into a little bit of a rhythm. I was beginning to start playing against a bit of an underlying beat. You don't have to do that, okay? Don't feel obliged to do that. And the fact that I'm not specifying a rhythm or timing there should make it much easier for you to play around with these broken chords. I want you to really mess about with them. Just take a C chord if you like and really try breaking it up. Playing the individual notes, seeing what you can do, creating bits of melody, then put the left hand in. Just do this for a while, up and down an F chord, then the same with a G chord, listening to the effects, feeling it all the time, internalising the feel of those 1, 4 and 5 chords. The other thing I should say is that clearly I'm using quite a lot of sustain pedal, the right hand pedal, to stick things together. Now I want you to have a go at that for yourself if you are relatively new to the piano. It should be fairly straightforward. Mostly you should be able to get away with just holding the pedal down for each chord and re-pedaling, in other words lifting the pedal and putting it back down again when you change chord. Again, if you're relatively new, timing that might take a little bit of practice at first, but it's not really a fundamentally difficult skill, and this exercise is also a really good way of practicing it. Okay, so if you're a reasonably experienced piano player, then doing all of that in C major isn't going to be that big of a deal for you. So let's try it in some different keys, sticking with major keys to start with. Let's give ourselves a bit of a challenge by going to a key that's got lots of black notes in it, E major. So in the left hand, we want to mirror what we did in C major. The tonic note of the key is E, so we have two E's, an octave apart, and between them we have what will be the highest note of the tonic chord played in root position. There's our tonic chord, highest note is B, so let's take a B down here and drop it in the middle. If you understand the terminology of intervals, by the way, you might say that the middle note in that group, that B, is a fifth above the root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just counting up the scale there, okay? But don't worry if you're not familiar with that jargon. If you are, it's just a handy way of finding that middle note. So that's our left hand, which, as we know, just stays the same throughout. Now in the right hand, we have to work out our 1, 4 and 5 chord shapes, and there are 3 ways of doing that. Firstly, you can just use guesswork and trial and error, and you might expect me to say that's a bad thing. But it's not, because using trial and error here means using your ears to judge whether you're right or wrong, and using your ears is always a good habit to get into. Second option, and this is a bit of a cheat but it's a really quick one, you can just look the chords up. If you Google find chords of any key and click through for the image results, you'll get any number of diagrams and charts that tell you not just the 1, 4 and 5 chords of any key, but the 2, 3, 6 and 7 chords as well. So that's another quick way. Third, and most interesting, if you know the scale of the key you're working in, you can just figure out the first, 4th and 5th notes of the scale. So there's the scale of E major. The first note is E. The 4th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, is A. And the fifth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is B. Then you build a simple major chord in root position on each of those notes using only notes taken from the scale. There you go, you've got your 1, 4 and 5 chord, E, A and B, and off you go. Then we're doing exactly the same thing as we did before. Free and easy on the time. Playing around with broken chords. Arpeggiations. Yeah, going 1, 4, 5, 4, 1 all the time. And really getting a feel of the chords under your fingers, practicing your pedaling, making it smooth, all the rest. And what you want to be aiming to do is to work out how to do that across all of the major keys. Yeah, now some keys are more common than others, so you might want to focus on them, but being able to do that across all the major keys is a really good goal to aim for. The other thing you can start to do, just to make it more musically interesting and a little bit more challenging, is to start adding in little decorative notes from outside the chords. You can just do this by trial and error, yeah? Reaching up and down one note below or above a chord, yeah? Or just sort of, you know, suspending notes from within the chords themselves. Don't worry too much about moving your hand position, just play around, not in a very dramatic way. Reach up a note, reach down a note, find a non-chord note in the middle, and use your ear to work out whether the different things you do sound good, sound a bit weird, interesting, whatever. Yeah, just kind of use your ears to get to grips with what you're doing. All the time be listening to the sound you're making, as well as feeling those chord shapes under your fingers. That's really important to help you internalize what you're doing. It'll also help you to get a sense of some of the interesting cadences we've got going on here. Now, cadence is the name we give to transitions between chords. So between a 5 chord and a 4 chord, we have a deceptive cadence, which is also sometimes known as an interrupted cadence. It's quite an unusual deceptive cadence because they usually go to minor chords, yeah, but we're going to a major chord and it's still a deceptive cadence. Between the 4 and the 1, we have a plagal cadence, and they're much more common. I want this tutorial to be really practical, so we're not going to go off down the rabbit hole of theory now, but I am planning to make a tutorial on cadences pretty soon, so watch out for that. Finally, what about minor keys? Here we are in the key of A minor. I've left minor keys until last, but that's not to say you should neglect them, because they are just as important as major keys. All the same principles apply that we were talking about for the major version of the exercise. It's just that the chords will be slightly different. In particular, the 1 and the 4 chords will always be minor. So in the key of A minor, the number 1 chord, the tonic chord, is A minor, and the number 4 chord is D minor. When it comes to the number 5 chord, things get a bit more complicated. You might have come across this before, but in minor key songs and pieces of music, sometimes you come across the minor version of the 5 chord, and sometimes you come across the major version. So in A minor, the number 5 chord would be E minor or E major. I don't want to dig into the reasons for that, because this isn't, as I've said, a technical tutorial. What I would say for now is, by and large, stick to the major version of the number 5 chord. Okay, so go minor, minor, major. Number 1, number 4, number 5. A minor, D minor, E major in the key of A minor. Okay, apart from that, the exercise works pretty much the same way. Our left hand is the same, 2 notes an octave apart and the 1 in the middle, the 5th in the middle, and we can just play it exactly as we did for the major version. What I want you to do though is listen to how the character of the sound has changed. Yeah, very different. In the major, that left hand drone or pedal tone, or whatever you want to call it, had a kind of energizing effect. It was almost kind of triumphant. It was very warm when you put it in combination with the right hand chords. But in the minor, the effect is much more subtle. It's darker, and especially on the dominant chord, it's kind of edgier. Yeah, that's a really important thing to notice, especially if you want to become a good improviser or even a composer or songwriter on the piano. It's all very well learning chords and scales and what have you, but you have to pay attention to the sounds they make and learn what musical effects you can create with them. Okay, Okay, so once again, figure out the 1-4-5 across a bunch of minor scales, practice it, get familiar with it, break up the chords, arpeggiate them, add passing notes, whatever you want to do, just get the sound and the feeling into your ears and under your fingers. So that's it for another tutorial. Take the exercise, play around with it. Remember, it's supposed to be fun as well as good for you. And let me know in the comments how you get on with it. Like I said earlier, please do check out my Patreon page over at patreon.com/BillHilton. The first of the new monthly piano packs is live now, and they're going to run for at least the next 6 months, which is through to February 2021, and maybe even beyond that if people really like them. So patreon.com/BillHilton to find out more and sign up if you like what you see. As I said, Patreon is a platform I've come to really like, and I want to expand the community I have there so that I'm closer in touch with what you guys want and what you think, and also so that it can be a sustainable source of revenue for me in addition to my book sales, so I can keep making these YouTube tutorials and writing new books and producing new stuff way into the future. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Just hit the little red button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Also follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description text below, and check out my very popular books, especially my bestseller How to Really Play the Piano. Again, links are below. Happy piano playing, and I'll see you next time.